Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Shiviti Adonai lenekti tamid, kimi mini balemot. Lachen samach libi, vayagel kivoti, af besari shkon lavetach. Ki lo tasov nafshi lishol, lo titein chasidcha lirot shakot, todieni orach chaim, orach chaim. Sova simachot et panecha, ne'imot b'mincha netzach. Shiviti Adonai lenekti tamid, kimi mini balemot.
Death has taken our beloved Shirley Srolovitz. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God. Be with them. For Shirley's love that united us in life in which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. As we listen now to the words of the 23rd Psalm.
Adonai roi lo hechsar, bino sheyar biseni, al menuchot inaleni. Nafshi shovev yishovev, yancheni b'magle serek, yancheni b'magle serek, leman shemo. Kom kilik beget samalvet, lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivti kaumi shandeh sorirai, di shanta vashem eroshi, così rivaya. Octuva chesed irdifuni, collie mechaiai, collie mechaiai, vishavti bivet Adonai, leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar, Adonai roi lo echsar.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul. God leads me in the paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Eternal One forever. Eshet Chayil, mi yimtza. From Proverbs 31. A woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. At this time, it's my honor to call to the front of the room those who are closest to Shirley, who knew her best, who are going to speak on behalf of the family. First, I invite her son, Harry, and then her grandsons, Sean and Noam.
We're not going to get anywhere without these, so. Try to keep it within reason here, but bear with us. The entire Srolovitz family is gratefully eternal for everybody who is here to help us today. To really just express our gratitude and love for all the happiness and the joy and the kindness that my mom really exhibited to everybody she ever met. It's so hard to encapsulate really the essence of Mom's 91 years of life and as our mother for nearly 70 years. We just try to find, if she was actually sitting out there right now, I probably wouldn't be able to see her because she was so short. But that was the only thing. I mean, when you look at that, it was easy to see her from the golden heart that she really had. You know, I think also from her smile. Her smile radiated everywhere all the time. She was never without that. As you can imagine, you know, it's really hard to prepare a speech when there's so little time and there's so much to talk about. But it's easy also because there is so much to talk about with Mom. She was such an awesome person to everybody, as I mentioned, everybody that she met. You know, I guess anyone who knew Mom, they really knew that she was a kind person. She was very kind. She was always the peacemaker. You know, when situations called for it, you know, she was there to kind of set things right, to bring harmony to whatever was happening. It didn't matter what it was. She always took the high road, the high side to everything. She also herself avoided confrontation. She never, ever wanted to be the cause of any type of argument, anything that could be, that she would have to deny. You know, she just wanted everything to be good, and she wanted everybody else themselves to be good. Everybody knew that she was so happy, always giddy, so bubbly. I mean, that was my mom. You know, when there was a party, there was a dance, it didn't matter what it was. You know, she could always find a way to lighten the conversation, make it a happier moment, even if it meant singing Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline, or the Passover dinner, throwing the plastic frogs out at the right time, the locusts out at the right time. And what's nice to see is some of her grandkids are carrying that spirit on. Her granddaughter, Sammy, does that now with her friends when she does a Passover Seder. So those things are instilled upon people who had the chance to really experience what Mom brought to everything. She just wanted to make it happy. She was always kind of the life of the party. And I kind of say that in the context of her life at Lionsgate. You know, it's funny, when we go there a lot of times, you know, we walk down the hall with Mom, and I kind of see like everybody going, "Yo, Shirley, yeah, Shirley," and she's like, "Hey, how you doing? Yo, how you doing?" And everybody's comment was the same. Mom is so happy she brings a life to the environment. Everybody loved what she brought to her life and everybody else's life at Lionsgate. And we're really proud of that because it's what she always wanted, just to be happy, make sure everybody else was happy. As I mentioned, she had a really special way of turning even a learning moment into a fun moment, and a fun moment also into a learning moment. To this day, we still come across some of her old students back from the 60s and the 70s who remember her. They remember her songs. They remember the way she taught, and that she was just always just so loving, so caring, so helpful, and it sticks with them. They remember things, I mean, I just don't remember. Of course, I never listened to her anyhow, but that of course is a whole different story, which, you know, I don't want to go into that because that would be way too embarrassing for me. I think also some stuff that I remember is even like when we would go to our cousin's house, you know, we would a lot of times wrestle on the living room floor. We'd be fighting, and they were much bigger than I was and my brothers. They were older than us. She'd be out there trying to pull us off to make sure we didn't get hurt. Didn't help, but she tried. You know, we had times, one of my first friends ever in my life is here, and, you know, he can remember, Michael in the back, that all the things that we used to do, which we really can't talk about at this time. But our family just shared so much, and it was because of Mom and their parents as well. It was just such a great life. It was such a great place, and she was such a great person to help us bring all that forward. Mom was always a giver. She would do anything to help anyone, a friend, a family, even any member of a congregation, or even at Lionsgate, the people that she had met just a few years ago. They all knew that Mom would be there, and she would also be there to share whatever she had and give whatever she can give. Whether it was a committee doing ONEG, she was always there to volunteer. She would never say no. She would always pitch in. Again, she was always there. And, I think everybody was a benefactor of the way she brought her life forward to everybody. It's really so difficult to capture the essence of who she was and the lasting impression she had left on so many lives. But if I could sum it up, I really say that she taught us through her kindness and her humor, her big and beautiful heart, that life was meant to be shared. It was meant to be enjoyed, to live fully, even to the end. It's all she really wanted. I think something very coming is I saw today that today is World Kindness Day. I was reading that on the internet today, and it really, really kind of, again, encompasses the essence of just celebrating a person who that's what her life was all about. So I kind of take that as an omen for Mom. And I just again want to thank my mom for all the joy, love, and lessons that she gave us. That she'll always be with us, every smile, every song, and every memory. And again, thank you everybody for coming to help us share this moment.
This is the tallest a Srolovitz has ever been. Oh, God. How do you sum up 91 years? For my grandma, 91 meant 57 years of marriage, 4 kids, 9 grandkids, 12 great-grandchildren, and a song for every day of the week and occasion that you came across. As much as I think my cousins and I could sum things up right now by singing a rousing rendition of Gray Squirrel, I'm not going to force you all to do that right now. And instead, I think I could sum up my grandma's legacy with 2 words: positivity and community. So to start with positivity, over the weekend, one of the nurses asked Grandma, "What's your secret for making it to 91? Her response was simply, "I don't think about it too much." And that's really the most grandma response I ever could have expected. My grandma was the most relentlessly positive, roll with the punches person I've ever met. With Grandma, things were rarely good or bad. They were just interesting. The food at Lionsgate, interesting. The classes, interesting. The random show on Netflix she stumbled upon, you guessed it, also interesting. Unless you were talking about coffee, well then that was good. And if Michael made it, then it was great. She took everything that life gave her in stride and always came out on the other side with a smile on her face. And Grandma's positivity is really what fueled her through life, and that positive energy is what allowed her to build community and leave such a truly everlasting mark on this world. Grandma really lived her life in service to others. She was adoring wife to Grandpa, a loving mother to her 4 kids, and from the stories I've heard, only needed the broom to deal with 1 or 2 of them. It's you, Uncle David. And for me, she was the best grandma a boy could ask for, whether it was, sleepovers, family holidays, visits to the funplex, having her convince us to eat slow food instead of fast food. You knew any day with Grandma was going to be special. She was our biggest cheerleader, and it was always amazing to see her sit back at family occasions and with glowing pride at her ever-growing family. And impressively, we'll say she never once broke at my declaration of, "Grandma, I know I'm your favorite," always responding very diplomatically, "Yes, you're one of my favorites," with a smile. So I think Grandma's legacy goes beyond just the family she created. It lives in the community she helped build at Addith. It lives in all the Sunday school students who are lucky to learn a song or 2 from her, and all the ladies at Lionsgate that celebrated every occasion with her. Her ability to light up a room with a smile, to make everyone she met feel at home, to leave every community she was a part of better than when she got there. It was just truly unmatched. I could really go on for hours, but I'll end with this. I'm lucky to have called her my grandma. I know you're up there dancing with Grandpa, and I know your nose is just a little bit red from the Manhattan I'm sure you're drinking. I love you, Grandma, and thank you.
First and foremost, thank you, everybody, for being here. It's very meaningful to look out here and see family and friends, and it's meaningful to me, and it helps us all cope with this moment of sadness. So thank you all for being here. My dad called me last night and said, your cousin Sean is speaking for a few minutes, so if you'd like to, you can as well. And I said, no, thank you. But if you want me to, for you, I will do that. So here I am. It's sort of amazing that I had 37 years to cultivate an unbelievable relationship with my grandmother, and just a few moments to think about what to say at her funeral. That's sort of the way Grandma lived her life, to the fullest, being in the present moment, not really thinking too far behind or too far ahead, and a very sort of quick, peaceful ending. So maybe there's some poetry there. As you all know, sitting here, my grandma Shirley was truly a one-of-a-kind person. She was super silly, had a wonderful, infectious laugh. She was loving, giving, and supremely calm. She used to give us grandchildren kisses by the tens and by the hundreds. She would break out into a song or a jingle at any time that she could, including at my sister's wedding, singing Good Ship Lollipop with the band playing behind her. We've all sort of echoed that silliness and that joyfulness that we all know her for. She used to throw epic Hanukkah parties, and I have so many memories of her at Jewish events, whether it was sitting in our sukkah together, enjoying a meal. She loved those moments, and she will be terribly missed at those moments moving forward. She used to be 6 feet tall. Everybody knows that. Just by chance, recently, I started reading a book called The Daily Stoic. And, Stoic philosophy talks a lot about Grandma's philosophy. There's a quote that I read that said, by Marcus Aurelius, that said, everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it is endurable, then endure it, stop complaining. If it's unendurable, then stop complaining. And it's so fitting for Grandma when I, similar to what Sean said, when I, fairly recently, I asked Grandma what her secret is to living such a long and lively life. And she thought about it for a moment and she said, I didn't worry about it. And that's how she was. She didn't worry about it. Never got too high, never got too low, stayed in the moment, kept everybody in that moment with her. And, I think we can all take that lesson to heart and bring that forward as her legacy is just staying present and not letting ourselves get caught up in things that are trying to knock us off our track. Grandma, thank you for sharing your often unspoken wisdom, and thank you for blessing us with so many good years of fun, song, conversation, and love. I think I speak for everybody that we are blessed to have had her in our lives for as long as we each did. This is my 4th funeral of a grandparent, and this is the happiest one. I mean, she, 91 years of an incredible life that she lived to her fullest. And, we can all be very happy and grateful that we got that from her, and we can bring that forward. So thank you all for being here.
So thank you, Harry, Sean, Noam, for those words from the heart, from people who really knew Shirley. And at the risk of repeating some very worthwhile stories that are worth hearing again, I'd like to offer you these additional words with the hope that they give everyone here a bit of comfort on this day. We've heard it before. Shirley Srolovitz was a joy to be around. And that's because she emitted this kind of upbeat energy and joy. She's a wonderful woman. I mean, we've heard the adjectives: bubbly, bouncy, outgoing, social, friendly, kind, caring. Just nice. She was a beloved daughter, sister, mother, aunt, grandmother, and friend, as well as an inspiring teacher. And she will be dearly missed. And while a eulogy could never capture all 91 years of her life, or maybe I should correct that, capture the 62 anniversaries of her 29th birthday, I'd like to share with you these thoughts about Shirley Srolovitz with the hope that they bring some comfort at this time of loss. This week we read in the Torah about our first patriarch and matriarch, Abraham and Sarah, and how they were role models for hospitality. On a hot day, sitting at the entrance of his tent, Abraham looks up and he sees 3 men standing near him, and the doors of his tent were always open. Abraham runs to greet them. Sarah hastens to provide them with food and water, and both of them provide these visitors with shade and rest. Shirley Srolovitz was very much like our ancestors in this regard. Shirley's door was always open, and welcome guests and friends of her children tended to stick around somewhere around mealtime, because they know that Shirley always had another place for them at the table. She was a giver and a doer. She was the person who ran to do mitzvot. She reached out toward others, and she would always say yes if given the opportunity to volunteer or help out, as we heard especially at Oneg Shabbat. Shirley Srolovitz was an upstanding role model. She was born and raised in Milwaukee to parents Hyman and Esther Feldman, Zichronam Levracha. She was a good daughter and the beloved sister to 2 brothers, Michael and Jerry, of blessed memory. The family lived over the store that the Feldmans owned and ran, and the children enjoyed pulling little mischievous, silly, and fun pranks, like dropping the caps that they made for the store from the 3rd floor window. I was wondering if maybe they were trying to have the caps fall on the heads of the people below. I don't know. But little fun, silly things like that. Shirley went to the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee. Her parents didn't want her to go far away like Madison. She was a geology major and studied education to become a teacher. She'd also gone to the Workmen's Circle to learn Yiddish. It was at Milwaukee that Shirley met her beloved Harvey at a Hillel dance. Shirley loved to dance, especially polkas. And she and Harvey loved to dance together. You can see her bouncing, right? Shirley and Harvey lived in the Midwest for a while, but finally landed in southern New Jersey in Levittown, as it was known then, now Willingboro. She was a loving wife, and Willingboro was a great place to raise the family that she and Harvey had already started. Shirley and Harvey grew close to the neighbors in the area and took turns hosting parties. And even after they left the neighborhood, Shirley kept up the relationships that she had built there. And Harvey and Shirley helped found and build their synagogue, our synagogue, known then as Temple Emmanuel, now Adith Emmanuel. Shirley's Jewish identity and living a Jewish life was important to her. And their social life was also at Temple Emmanuel. And the temple was a place where they would create their closest friends, as I'm looking on this half of this room. Shirley and Harvey became involved in Emmanuel's leadership as well, no surprise. Judaism was essential part of their lives in their synagogue and in their home. And Shirley was immersed in Emmanuel's sisterhood, serving as the president. They both were very busy in life with their work, family, and friends. And it was only many years later, after Harvey retired, that they would be able to travel the world together as they so loved. Shirley, as we heard, taught kindergarten for decades, and her students loved her. She was a teacher at our congregation, and students remembered Mrs. Srolovitz and her silly songs. And her students, when they grew up, taught these songs to their children. Back in the day, she would bring in her toaster oven so that she could make challah with her students. And one student, I heard the story from the family the other day, became a real foodie as a pastime. And this student credits Mrs. Srolovitz as being the one who first inspired her with that toaster oven challah. Though not known for her cooking, Shirley had her specialties, such as her famous chopped liver, made with the grinder, the old-fashioned way, her chicken soup, and her bird-in-the-nest comfort food. Shirley was a beloved mother to Bonnie, David, Harry, and Stephen, and then later to Michael, Sandy, Beverly, and Erica when you joined the family. And when you were kids, you remember how your mother was the nice one, right? It was your father who was the disciplinarian, and she sometimes invoked that famous line, "Wait till your father gets home," except on the occasion when she did chase David around with the broom. Your mother didn't like to be confrontational, as we've heard. You recall how your mom recited poems or made up rhymes, often silly ones like the songs. Her other musical favorites were the musicals Oklahoma and South Pacific that she played all the time. And as we heard, the love of that Neil Diamond song, Sweet Caroline. Each of you sees a little bit of your mother in you. You see how each of you is friendly and social, makes friends easily, gets along with others, and yet not so effusive with your feelings. Some of you may have also inherited some of your mother's non-confrontational nature and your Jewish identity instilled by both of your parents is very important to who each of you is. Shirley was an endearing grandmother to Aaron, Miriam, Noam, Michael, Melissa, Joshua, Sean, Rachel, and Samantha, and then to Shifra and David and Batia and Jill and Charles and Rowena as you married into the family. And a treasured Gigi of Nessa, Rory, Omri, Shlomo, Zimra, Eliyahu, Hananya, Rona, and Lillian, Graham, Jack, and Evelyn. Shirley loved children and teaching them. They saw eye to eye. Literally, right? As well as metaphorically. And her own grandchildren and great-grandchildren were her most precious children of all. She took great pride in going into her grandchildren's classrooms to teach all the children about Hanukkah and hosting Hanukkah parties, as we heard, for her family with lots of her grandchildren gave Shirley such pleasure. You remember not only all those kids, but also those presents and how Shirley took the games that she knew from classroom and she brought them to her family as well, like that gift swap exchange for Hanukkah, just to add a joyous occasion, making it even more fun. As an educator, she loved teaching you and seeing her values and traditions pass on l'dor vador, from generation to generation. And we've already heard about that silly song of Gray Squirrel, Swish Your Bushy Tail, and the plagues at Passover. And she did that long before you could commercially purchase a bag of plagues. Shirley's lighthearted nature, joyous and fun personality were evident up until the end, When she was in the hospital, right around Rosh Hashanah, she lifted her red Jell-O cup and her yellow Jell-O cup as if they were apples and honey. And she sang the song, Apples and Honey, for Rosh Hashanah. She appreciated the visitors and help she received from you when she was in need, but she never wanted to be a bother or a burden to you or for anyone else. And the other things about Shirley, she always had a smile, and how that smile lit up the room. How she searched for the silly things, even in the serious, that might make her and others laugh. How one time when she and Bonnie went on vacation to Brussels, Shirley cooked and froze meals for Harvey for every day with labels and directions. And it took him a moment or two, with the help of his grown children, to learn that he could go out for a meal and eat whatever he wanted. How she never had a bad word to say about anyone or anything. How she was so friendly and social. She made friends easily because she was such a sweet friend. At Lionsgate, where she lived for only 3 years of her whole long life, she was most social and popular, and everyone in the place knew and liked Shirley. How she loved her clubs and socializing with them, taking full advantage of all Lionsgate had to offer, like swimming and aerobics. And as easily as she made new friends, how Shirley treasured those lifetime friendships, like the Breakfast Club and other groups of friends she would go out with. How she volunteered and gave of her time to other organizations like NCJW, Hadassah, and various senior centers. She was always involved on committees and helped. She never said no. How Shirley kept in touch with her relatives all over the world, from Israel to Azerbaijan to Russia and more. How she was not a braggart, even when it came to expressing pride in her children and her grandchildren. Though she was proud of Bonnie being the architect for Adith Emanuel's sanctuary. And the inside joke that you shared, it was the magic of how did both doors open when you just pulled on one? How Shirley loved her sweets, especially ice cream and custard. She may have made it look like she was buying these dairy dessert as a treat for the grandchildren, but in truth, she was giddy about getting ice cream for herself. How she was a happy person, gentle and kind, and all those other things about Shirley Srolovitz that would take about 91 years to tell. Like our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Shirley Srolovitz was a role model who opened her doors and her heart to others, and she will not be forgotten. Shirley Srolovitz can never die. She lives on in all of us, in our memories, and in the hearts of all who knew and loved her. O God of comfort, comfort us now and help us to keep alive the memory so dear to us in Shirley Srolovitz. And let us say, Amen. We pause now for a moment of silent meditation where each of us might recall in our minds and hearts a memory that we shared with Shirley. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. As we're able, we rise in body and spirit for El Malei Rachamim.
El Malei Rachamim, Shochin bo meromim, Hametzeh mechona nechona, תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מסירים לנשמות שרה מלכה בת חיים ואסתר, שעלי כל עולמה. בעל הרחמים יסיריה בשאת כנפיו לעולמים, וישרור בזרע חיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר amen.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Shirley Srolovitz, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God, you are her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.